אוקיי, אז אתם באתם לפה בשביל לשמוע על אנימציות ועל אנימציות באנגולר. אבל למה בכלל נרצה לדבר על אנימציות? טוב, בוא נריץ את זה ממש מהר. UX, כן? Better UX. אנחנו רוצים אנימציות כי אנחנו נותנים ליוזר שלנו, sorry. It's supposed to be in English. Okay, let's reset everything and let's go on again. So, demystifying Angular animations. Why to bother with animation at all? Fast forward. We want better user experience. Yeah. Things like, these animations that you can see in every website. And we probably want to indicate that something happened or is happening right now. So we will do animation for validations and etc., etc. Of course, we want cool websites, so let's make it cool with flashing lights and everything else. But, animation are hard. Creating animation is very hard, and we want to be very good developers and to succeed in building very, very strong and cool animations. So this is what we are going to do here. I'm going to guide you a little bit about how to create your animations, and then we'll drill down into animations in Angular. About me, a little bit. So I'm Gil Fink, I'm the CEO of sparXys, and I'm also a senior consultant. I'm a Microsoft MVP in the last 8 years. It's an award that Microsoft gives me. It's not something that you get as certification or something else. I wrote a book called Pro Single Page Application. Who read that book already? Nobody? So go read that book if you want to understand how to create single page applications. These are guidelines for single page applications. I wrote 4 Microsoft official courses that were learned and still learning in Microsoft Learning Centers all over the world. If you're learning in Microsoft Official Learning Center HTML5 programming, this is a course that I was responsible. And I'm running a meetup here in Rishon, GDG Rishon, which is Google Developer Group. And of course, I'm one of the organizers of AngularUP. So what we are going to do in the next couple of minutes. First of all, we are going to talk about web animations. In a whole, what is it, how to use that. Then, we are going to build our own Angular animation implementation. And then we'll drill down in Angular animations, the real world or the real thing in Angular. So, web animation options right now. First of all, of course, you have JavaScript libraries that you can use in order to impose animations in your websites. You can also use CSS3 models like CSS3 animation, CSS3 and 3D animations, and etc. But it's boring because it's old stuff. Really. Let's welcome Web Animation API. Web Animation API is a new beast. It enables you to hook into the animation engine of your browser and to create animations on top of animation, CSS3 animation and transitions, but with JavaScript, and enables you to change things during runtime. So who tried to change animation, CSS animation during runtime? Raise your hand, please. Not a lot of you. Why is that? Because it's hard, yes? So here, if I want to use Web Animation API, which is a new API in the browser, all I need to know is that I have the animate function on all the DOM elements. That animate function gets 2 different parameters. One is the keyframes, it's an array, and the second one is a timing property object that configures how the animation runs. More than that, you have event listeners that you can hook into in your animations. So if you want to hook into animation start or animation end or replace animations, that's easy. Change the animate function or register to event handlers. So let's take a look at an example of how to use that. So here I am in my browser, my web page, and when the content is loaded, I'm going to do something very easy like document get element by ID, and I want to hook into the animate function and do something. So first of all, I'm giving the keyframe array. You can see here how I'm transforming, translating 3D, and changing the background. And of course, as I said, we need to add the configuration object. I'm going to make the animation run 3 seconds and iterate for eternity. Now, if there is somebody that have epilepsy, please don't look at the screen when I'm saying go, okay? I'm really not kidding. Okay, so go. Okay, so this is me in a green to black flashing animation. That's all. Animation API. What can we do with the Animation API? So we can do a lot of things, but, and this is a big but, it's not supported in a lot of browsers. It's supported in Chrome, and as you can see in Firefox, but in other browsers like Edge and Safari, it's not supported. So please use the polyfill in the bottom here, which can help you to create the animate function for you in the browser and fill the gap. And how we can use that knowledge with Angular? So let's build something interesting. Let's build our own animation decorator. So here I am in a project that was created by Angular CLI, and I'm importing the core here, and I'm going to write some functions that will help me to create a decorator, animation decorator. If you don't know what is a decorator in Angular, the @ component, @ng-module, and all the there are decorators. A decorator is just a function that you can use in order to impose something. And what Angular does, once you use that decorator, the Angular decorators, it gives you the opportunity to reflect some things. Angular compiler will run on top of the code that you've written and use the reflect API, a new API that you can also use in the browser with polyfills, of course. And what Angular will do for you is compile that and write some annotations, runtime annotations, that it will use later on to impose some things. So in order to create a decorator or a component decorator, you need a decorator factory implementation. So let's write a small function that will get decorator factory from some component. So I said that a component decorator is just a function. So I can create a class here with nothing, and I can run the decorator on top of that class, and I can return the prototype of that decorator. And that prototype, of course, will be the decorator factory. And why I'm using that? Because every component or, decorator in Angular runtime needs to implement or extend from the decorator factory. Now I can do something very, very cool, like write this decorator by myself. I'm creating my own component decorator. That decorator will get props. This is the object array that we are going to put in the component. It will take out the keyframe and time properties from those props. It will assign the props to some new object and set its prototype to the decorator factory. Now I can return the decorator factory on the class, which will reflect the annotation that are annotating the component and run the animation later on. Okay, here I'm just grabbing the first child of my element, my component, and then just say animate with keyframes and timing properties. Now I can go to, I can go to my application component and do something like ng-animate here, and I have the keyframe here and timing property here. And if everything is okay right now, I can run npm start, and I'll get something out of it. Okay, let's see. Let's compiling, it's compiling, it's compiling. You can see here the component animation. Okay, it's not the component of Angular. Please compile fast, God of demos. Yeah. I should have used the fuse box that Uri used in his session. I saw that it's faster than Webpack. Okay, so I can do something like localhost 4,200, and I'm getting the same results. But this time, it's an Angular application that does everything for me. And I'm using my own component animation decorator. This is the time that you are going to say, yay! I know decorators. Okay, sorry. Okay, that was supposed to be, I know decorators. Thanks. Magnificent. Okay, so we know decorators. We know how to create our own decorators, and later on you can use that in order to create your own decorators. But, and this is a big but, we came here to learn about Angular animations, and Angular includes a model of animation inside of it. What I showed you here right now in the two first demos are how they could have written that model for you, but they didn't write it. The Angular animations are based on Web API, Web Animation API. Okay, this is very cool. It's separated from Angular Core because if you used Angular 2, then all the animations were included in the Angular Core. Right now, it's a new model, and it's totally refactored, and it gives you a lot of strength that you can build your own animations. And what's the setup? First of all, you should include the browser animation model in your ng model. That's all. And then you can use the animations. First of all, you will use a decorator in your template, create a decorator here. You can see here, the decorator for fade. And then you create a trigger that will trigger that animation using that animation property in the component. Then we are ready to go, and we will create our animation using transitions and states and etc. So let's say hello to Angular animations. So first of all, you can see here a demo in WebStorm. I'm importing the browser animation model. If I'll go to, let's drill down below, the package JSON, you can see that I'm grabbing Angular animation model, okay? I'm grabbing the latest build. Angular animation model is part of Angular 4.2, okay? It got out there. And then after I have the model set up and everything is ready, then I can do something like create my own implementation for some fade trigger. That trigger will change the opacity of the element, and it will take 5 seconds, and it will fade in for us. Then I can use the fade here, the fade decorator, and say you have 2 states that I want you to listen to, in or out. If you're active, then the state is in. If you're not active, then the state is out. And I can do something like ng animation fade and just import my trigger, the fade trigger. Now I can run npm start again with the application, and then I can go to localhost 4000 and fader. This is a route here, and no. Yeah, I had an error here. That wasn't expected. Okay. Okay, just a moment. Nope. Okay, so fast forward, I can go to this solution, the end solution. Okay, let's open the end solution in this window. It's the same thing here, and just npm start. Let's close this, and let's close this. It's bothering me. And after I compile it, doesn't work again. Okay, so what? Apophis. Yes. Yeah, this is what is going to happen if you are using more than one. Thank you. And now, hopefully, it will work. Okay. And we have our fader, which isn't working. Yeah. Okay. Trust me, it works in my browser. Okay. And let's move forward because I have a couple of minutes and I want to explain more things. So this is Angular animation demystified. That's a small thing, okay? You create a trigger and you configure your animation and you just set the animation on the component. In Angular animations, there are two major parts, okay? States and transitions. You create a state using the state function and give a state, that state a name, and you can create a transition between something to something else. For example, everything to in. If something is changing to in and I have a trigger on that element, then the animation will run, this animation. More things are supported. You can use the keyframe function in order to configure all the keyframes that you want to use, those same keyframes that you saw in Angular Animation API. You have Angular animation groups. You can take some animation, couple them into one group and then run them together and then run another group at the same time, and you have concurrency of animations on the same element. You have event handlers like start and done that you can register and use later on with the animations and to do something. For example, if the animation started, change some element in another place in the application, or if the animation is done, then I want to start a new animation, and etc., etc. And I will publish the demos later on to my blog, but those demos are for an application, or a small application, a very, very simple application. You could see that everything flew in, okay? And fly out, and if I want to seduce Luke Skywalker to the dark side, then I can press this button and he is on the dark side, or do something else. Let's shrink something and make it bigger again, and etc. So you have the animations. This demo, you will have it online and you will be able to play with it. It includes also, you could see a routing animation. When I'm moving from one route to another, I'm imposing an animation. So with that, let's summarize. First of all, embrace Web Animation API. If you are not using Angular 4, you can still use Web Animation API, use the polyfill, and you are set to go. You only need to understand that you have an animate function and all the configurations that comes with that animate function. You now know how decorators can be applied or created, a little bit about decorators, and you can create your own Angular whatever decorator that you want to, and of course, make your user happy. User love animation, okay? Use animation not widely, but use animations in your applications. There is a very good explanation about animation in Angular website. You can go to the ngconf animation video that Matthias, the guy who writes animation, did a few months ago. You can follow me on Twitter. You can visit my website. There you will find the blog reference and everything else, and you will find the demos and the slide deck later on. And I want to thank you for coming, and I want to thank you for coming to AngularUP as well. Start using web animation today, please.